Today I'm going to be working on a picture of Jason from Friday the 13th. I drew this picture about 10 years ago on regular paper and pen, and I'll show you that version. And then I'll get started on the new digital version and then comment on that. So here we are with Jason. This is the digital version that I'm working on now. This is not just any Jason. This is the New Blood Jason from Friday 13th Part 7. It was the first Friday 13th movie that Kane Hodder appeared in as Jason. Um, this is always my favorite version of Jason to draw because you can always put a lot of detail in him, and it's not just a straight out hockey mask. There's a somewhat of a face behind it. You can put detail in the bands and stuff like that. I believe the guy that designed this, I don't quite remember what his name was, but I'm pretty certain that he had to go back and watch the other movies and just see like all the marks that Jason had gotten over the years, because at the end of the movie when Jason's mask comes out, he has like all the marks that he had, all the wounds that he had taken over the years, getting hit over the head with a machete, around the eye, had all the scars there. It was pretty amazing makeup. Um, but this is the coolest version of Jason that I think there is, and I think most of the Friday 13th fans would actually agree with that, because most versions you see of Jason, like if they're making costume for cosplay or something like that, you're gonna see this version of Jason. It's sometimes you'll see part 3 or maybe 4, but most fans really gravitated to Jason whenever he got into the zombie state. Whenever they brought him back with the lightning, like the traditional Frankenstein movies. This was, like I said, this has always been my favorite version to draw, just because you can do so much with it. It's not just a plain hockey mask. You can really go in detail a lot of stuff with Jason. I never understood when they do the comics why they always take they will take the most current Jason. It's usually the one from Freddy versus Jason, and most of the fans will tell you that was probably about the weakest Jason that they had, costume wise anyway. Most fans didn't like that. I didn't like that costume. I thought it was pretty ridiculous compared to what they had just come from. I think Jason 9, which was a pretty decent costume. Wasn't as good as 7, but it was okay. But Other than that, I think this is the best one that they've ever done for Jason. Um, the chains are real great too, because you can always detail them. And I'm using an old program called Manga Studio EX4. They got way more advanced programs now. I'm so used to this one. I don't think I would do very good with the other ones, because you have to learn stuff a lot of times, and I'm just comfortable with these. And I mean, it does wig out a lot because it's kind of older with new computer updates, and I eventually will, I guess, have to upgrade to a newer one. But as of right now, I like this one. I'm not going anywhere with it. Um, the I really like how Jason's skin was in the movie, because you can easily go in there and do a bunch of cool stuff to it. Like it wasn't a normal Jason. Like the other Jasons look kind of like a mongoloid underneath the mask, like a mutant type of thing, almost like you've seen in The Hills Have Eyes, the remake. Actually, they look pretty. It's almost exactly the same makeup. Almost, it looks like anyway. But um, but this one I think was just really creative for the time, and it still stands out now. Most fans would like, if they would bring this look back to Jason, people would be really happy with it. I mean, I've never seen them do a better look than this for Jason anyway. But that's just me. I'm a big Friday the 13th fan, so when I'm drawing this stuff, it really does come easy to me, because I enjoy it so much. I only drew this because I was on, I think it was Facebook or something, and I seen where Todd McFarlane had done one for Friday the 13th, and I remembered I wanted to do something similar like that for Friday the 13th, but I didn't have a chance to, so I just released it late, I guess. But um, And he did a really cool one. You should look that up if you can find it. I'm not sure if he puts his videos on YouTube or not, but I know for a fact that he puts them on Facebook. He does a lot of little quick drawing lessons on there, which is real good. I gotta say, I've learned a lot from watching him. You know, watching the series, the comic book greats, with Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, a bunch of those guys. And you can really learn to draw from just watching people. You really can. This is the part that always gets tricky, is this hockey mask. I'll have to, there's even more fixing to be done from there. I love to just like put black over everything and then go back into it, because just for a dark character like Jason, it just looks better. Like if you're drawing Freddy, it'd work too. Or Hellraiser. Actually, I did Hellraiser. I tried to record it, but like every time I tried to, it was like computer wigged out or something, and I ended up drawing more and not realizing I didn't hit the record button. So I didn't. I was Hellraiser versus Batman. It's a picture I put online already, but it's pretty cool. I liked it a lot. Here we go. Put some lines up in there. Get it all crazy looking. I'm not sure if it looks better than the paper and pen. It does. I mean, it's really up to whoever's looking at it to really decide that. For me, I like digital drawing a little bit more than traditional paper and pens, just because you can go in and see things that you just can't see with your eye, because you can go and take your your computer and zoom in on it. You can't do that, ordinarily. So it's pretty much digital is all I'm doing. And not to mention the supply. You don't have to buy a lot of supplies. So, I mean, that's pretty cheap too, because you're not putting any money out for anything really. You're just buying your programs, which can be a little expensive. But I think like my Manga Studio EX4 is like $13 on eBay or something like that. It's not expensive at all. Now EX5 is a little bit more expensive. It's like $200 or $300, but I think it's the most modern version, is why. But put like a little comic bubble over that to cut that out. Yeah. I always like when I draw his bands, I like to make it look like, because he's been dead for a long time, to make it look like they are kind of stuck in the skin rather than they are just on there. Because like if he's had this hockey mask on for, I guess, 9 years, well, it'd been 7 by the time this version of Jason came out, he would have had some serious problems. Yeah, there we go. Put that there. These are a little tricky on each mask. Is like every Jason movie, like he has a different mask. And some he has stripes on the side of the mask. On 7 he doesn't have that. And that's one of the reasons I like to draw the 7 one. It's just because you can put so much detail in it. You can on 9 too. We'll say that, because like 9's mask is really screwed up. And they got like just a bunch of stuff, and they got like the meat around the head. They didn't show his face in 9, but they didn't show his face, but the way the head done, it was very creative the way they did the head. You can give them that. But get that fixed up because it didn't look straight. And that's another great thing about digital. If you would have done that with ink and pencil and paper, that was just a mistake you made. You couldn't really go back and fix that without a whole bunch of hard work there. You just like go around it and straighten it, which is pretty cool. Get some lines up in here. Yeah, there we go. His mask, I always like to make it look really rough, like he's been in a bunch of fights. I mean, because if you've ever seen the movies, he's been in tons of fights. He's won most of them till the end, anyway. The chains is like one of my favorite things that they've ever done to him. I wish they would bring that back to his costume. It just looks cool for it to be around his neck. It's a reference to 6 where Tommy Jarvis put the chain around his neck and um, tied him to a boulder or just a giant rock where he couldn't come up for air or something like that. It was pretty cool. 6, I think, was probably the best movie of the series, but I think 7 was the best costume of the series. Um, really loved that. I guess it was kind of the final chapter of Tommy Jarvis in 6 because we didn't really see him a lot after that. We didn't see him at all after that, actually. I don't know what the deal is there, why they never brought him back, but I think he was like really, he was kind of to Jason what Nancy was to Freddy, so it made no sense that they wouldn't bring him back for more to conclude their story. Starting to come together now, the darkness around the teeth. Um, that's one of the things that I always liked about this is because you could go in there and, you know, put like them skeleton looking teeth or rotted teeth and, you know, really put some detail in there. And I wish more comic book artists, when they get the rights to do Jason comics, like I think it was Wildstorm that had the last ones, and the Jason was not that impressive, and it was because they drew it off of the Freddy versus Jason, and most people did not like that Jason. I think that's just what they do, though, because if you remember, whenever Freddy Krueger was in Mortal Kombat, everybody hated the new Freddy Krueger. Anybody I talked to, anyway. And still, they used the Freddy Krueger, which nobody liked. They used the I don't remember the guy's name, Jackie something. He played in The Watchmen. I know that. But no one liked that Freddy. People want to see Robert Englund play Freddy Krueger, and that was the Freddy people wanted. I wish Mortal Kombat would have thought better than that. And they did that with Jason too. They picked the Freddy vs. Jason. Jason. It was a horrible Jason, but I'm really psyched about the Jason game coming out because they got this Jason in that game, and that's gonna be really great. So there we go. Get these little last details done. It's just about finished here. There we go. It's starting to look like I like it now. If I was going to make a comic, this is what my Jason would look like. I wouldn't be making a comic with the traditional Jasons they've been using. And I'm not saying any of the people that did that are bad artists or anything. They're really terrific. Probably much better than I am. But I'm just saying, if I was going to make a Jason comic, it would be one that, you know, I spent a lot of time on and put a lot of detail, which they can't always do that. And that's it. And here was the color that I did. It took me maybe about 30 minutes. I just rushed through it because I wanted to put it on here for this so that I would have it to kind of show you what it would look like colored. And that's about it for me. I hope you liked this video. Thanks. Later, YouTube.